Hello.
Hello. Welcome to episode 2 of the Album Spotlight podcast.
Where we put a spotlight on albums.
On albums.
If you can believe that.
Yeah. We're talking music albums, not
other types of albums.
Not photo albums.
Or other
Those are the other two I'm aware of.
Yeah, I guess there aren't really more than that.
That'd be good though, a podcast about how good photos are.
Yeah.
Audio podcast.
Yeah, well here's my my parents' wedding. As you can see.
You don't know them, but trust me, this is really cool.
Yeah, I know you can't see the pictures yourself as this is a podcast, but
and if you did, it wouldn't really remind you of the things I remember because you weren't there. But God, these are good pictures.
Yeah. In any case,
I'm Noah.
I'm Freddie. So today we are talking about an album by the classic industrial artist Coil. The album is Black Antlers.
Yeah, from 2004.
Yeah,
originally anyway.
And there's sort of a re-release. We're actually going to talk. I think you also listened to we both listened to the re-release.
Yeah, I didn't actually listen to the original edition. I think some of the tracks might be slightly different.
That's what I've heard. I think there
are different versions on the original.
Yeah, I think it's all slightly different, and some of the track names are slightly different on the first one. And, yeah, but it's
But the second edition is the one that continues to be in print if it's still in print.
Easier to get. That's the one we were able to find a download.
Yeah,
of,
so it seems like this is more of the official version at this point.
Yeah, and I think certainly I think it's often considered the better version. I certainly don't mind. It has a couple extra tracks, and I don't know. I think it's a nicely rounded album as in that version.
Well, first we have to address some things.
Yeah,
we got to address some things about the first episode.
Yeah.
Since we released the first episode, the reception has been overwhelming.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thunderous.
So thunderous, in fact, that we can't describe it in any more detail than this.
Yeah, no specificity here. And the number one thing of people, I don't know about you, we gave our personal emails and credit cards in the last episode, and the emails that I keep getting are why did I say that our Patreon goal for talking about Dark Side of the Moon was 100,000 patrons when nobody has reached over a third of that?
Yeah, well.
And
we're
ambitious. I'm not gonna fucking sell us short.
We know our fucking worth.
Yeah. So when I hear the Dark Side of the Moon episode, tell your friends about it, because it's gonna be a long fucking ride. All right.
Yeah.
We could set another shorter goal, but I'm not changing that one.
Yeah. Certainly not.
Yeah, maybe, what number would it be? 1,000? 100? 10.
10, 1.
1? Yeah, somebody, if we were put in a position where it makes sense to make a Patreon and one person becomes a patron, then we talk about, not Dark Side of the Moon, something else.
Yeah, The Wall.
The Wall? No. They can't all be big
Animals.
Well, that one is pretty underrated.
The Animals is.
I like $3 Bill Y'all by Limp Bizkit.
Yeah.
That's what the people want.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, it's official.
That's official.
It's been set in stone. So yeah, but what about Black Antlers? Why'd we pick Black Antlers? That's a good question, I think.
Yeah. So this is this is one of Coil's sort of late career albums. It was sort of yeah, I guess we could start with so Coil are they're an industrial act. The so industrial's just like a basically a scene that goes back to the 70s. It was essentially started by Throbbing Gristle in the UK. And they did lots of crazy weird music. It was basically this at the start it was basically just this completely like off the rails kind of avant-garde movement where they would do these weird experimental performances and do like the music itself was very it drew inspiration from like musique concrète and lots of it was very much like it was very electronic focused, using lots of essentially, I mean, the industrial thing kind of comes from like manipulating the elements of like industry and sort of production and that kind of stuff. And yeah, and then from there it sort of grew into a much larger thing.
Yeah, and it has spawned a lot of subgenres and offshoots. So now, a lot of the time when people think of industrial, or if you recommend an industrial album to somebody, they're going to expect it to sound like Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah.
Which, if it's just like strictly industrial, is not really going to be the case usually, because like the industrial rock and metal movements sound extremely different from like Throbbing Gristle and their contemporaries.
Yeah.
In the late 70s, early 80s. And then there's post-industrial, which is a
sort of what
big
this is.
nebulous thing, which Black Antlers falls into, and Coil are like some of the. Would you say they're some of the pioneers of the post-industrial? Or
yeah, I guess it's a weird thing because it's just like there's so much stuff that like it depends on like where you set the boundaries of post-industrial, because technically Nine Inch Nails or whatever could be considered that in the sense of like coming after industrial.
Yeah,
But,
so
like,
what is post-industrial? Like, what even is it?
Yeah, I mean, I'd describe post-industrial as essentially the stuff coming from like post-industrial in the definition we're going to use here as being like what came basically from like the core tradition, like sort of going back to Throbbing Gristle and not like deviating too far from that, and basically like around the sort of around the late 80s 90s it sort of people started to play with all kinds of other like involving sounds from various other places like dark ambient and like minimalism and folk, and just like so you had all these weird splintering things. You had so it was sort of you had like the neo-folk stuff going on that was like Current 93 and Death in June, and you had and then you had stuff like what Coil were doing, which was more leaning really heavily into the electronic side of industrial and just like crafting their own sound. That was just like something pretty wholly different. I don't know. Yeah, it's a very cool world, and there's all kinds of other splinters. There's like industrial hip hop that's like Death Grips and Dialect and stuff, and there's like there's like power electronics like Prurient and stuff. There's there's all kinds of like kind of offshoots of the industrial world that are like
even the last album we talked about was kind of like roughly in that.
Like especially the sort of noise side of that is very much like but then there's a separate noise tradition which you shouldn't confuse. But anyway,
it all gets complicated, and then like when people make genre names, they don't have like the whole scope of the history and the future beyond them to take into account. So calling something like post whatever the first genre was makes sense at the time, and then it keeps going, and then if there's like a movement after that it's like, oh well, I guess we're like post genre now, or, like with
post
rock is where it's like, or even post punk, because some of the post punk artists were like starting at roughly the same time as the classic punk artists, and it all just like gets confused when you like put a strictly time-based or era-based genre label on something. It just all gets confusing.
Yeah, it's really like so much of the evolution of like the genre, like the core like evolution of like the genre of punk came like after post-punk started.
Yeah.
Like almost all of it through like the whole 80s, like all of the hardcore punk and stuff was all like after post-punk.
Yeah, then post-punk had its heyday, and then didn't like fully go away, but wasn't as popular. Then it like got a resurgence, and now people call it post-punk revival.
Yeah, like post-punk.
Yeah, basically, just trying not to just keep adding posts to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because post-industrial, it's like an umbrella term, but also like specifically, it's just a fucking mess.
Yeah, it's strange. It's at least like a small enough sort of scene that you can kind of be a little clean with it. But
if somebody calls something post-industrial specifically and not like industrial rock, then
you sort of know.
Might sound vaguely like this. I mean, ultimately, if you haven't heard any of these things, you're just gonna have to kind of listen to some of it to know what it sounds like.
Yeah. So so Coil themselves were they started in the 80s. They were like they had a sort of rotating cast of members, but the two like core members were John Balance and Peter Christopherson, and they
and Peter Christopherson was in Throbbing Gristle.
Yeah, he was one of the founding members.
Yeah,
and then and John Balance was in like Psychic TV. He was sort of he had like, I don't know, he like would do, it was something like he like had like he did like zines or something at like his high school for like industrial music or something. I don't know. He was just like an industrial person for a while.
Yeah, Throbbing Gristle didn't really, like, it took a while for that for them to like be kind of recognized for their influence, right?
Yeah, no, they're sort of like I don't know. They had like they had some notoriety at the time for being just like the most controversial people in all of England, basically. Yeah. That was like
I was more like, oh, these rebellious kids are ruining the social fabric, or you know, like culture war shit. Really, like about their music, even. Really. Like they were about their art, but a lot of the press was just obviously not analyzing them on those terms.
Yeah, but yeah, it's interesting. Like you can even like right from the beginning with industrial. It's interesting. Just it has it always had pretty high aspirations, I think. And so that's one of the things I think is really interesting about it. And Coil are no different. They're like super out there and very, you know, there's no part of their discography that's like accessible. It's all very sort of high concept. And
but it's also maybe worth mentioning that like Coil's early stuff was like still in the like original industrial movement, basically.
It was in the 80s. It was much more in the vein of like a Skinny Puppy, or like like Einstürzende Neubauten, like that kind of stuff that was going on, which was and so it was
pronounced that like flawlessly. no hesitation.
Yeah, that's a bit of practice. I'm probably doing it wrong too, but
the confidence, I haven't gotten that level of confidence.
Yeah, I don't know. All those acts that were sort of doing this very the very much the sound in the 80s was this very big boomy kind of in your face kind of stuff, which is a lot of fun. But yeah, it's like more and very lots of kind of gritty, like lots of these like and like weird sampling and I don't know, use of sounds of I don't know. It's like sampling things like jackhammers and like, you know, whatever construction. And that was
not inherently musical sources.
Yeah, and Coil's own I think it was John Balance said like he sort of described like the Coil as being there's like two eras basically of their discography. There's like I think it was the solar music is like the early stuff. The rest of it, which is what Black Antlers falls into, is like mood music. Yeah, and it's sort of I'm sure he has some very particular, I don't know, thing for that. I don't know, but I feel like the early stuff sounds like the sun, the later stuff sounds like the moon. It sort of makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of, and you know, I haven't heard all their albums because that's another thing, is they just made a fuck million albums. The earlier stuff tends to be more aggressive and noisy, generally speaking.
Yeah, sort of martial industrial.
Yeah.
Is some of what some of it kind of falls into. Yeah, the sort of later mood music stuff I think is like that's like my personal favorite part of their discography. I think that sort of the fan base is sort of split between the two. Which one's your favorite? But yeah, I think it's like so. Basically, the sound they develop is basically this sort of yeah, like it's sort of silky smooth. It's like as smooth as like a moonbeam. It's just like so but it has like it just has this there's always this like like really palpable tension to it, and it's uses lots of things, lots of I don't know, and it sort of it draws a lot in particular I'm talking about like this album, like the Music to Play in the Dark albums, like the Ape of Naples, and then some other various things they did, because they also had other projects in here which don't quite fit this description, but they had
Gay Man's Guide to Safer Sex.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like the thing. Okay, aside from what I said, like they have that's the thing one of the things I love with Coil is they're just like such like relentless experimentalists. Like they do all kinds of weird ass shit. Yeah. Like half of it doesn't land. Like there's like I don't know, they had that weird like spoken word album with Judi Dench, which was just like this random ass project. It was just like
I don't think I even knew about that.
Yeah, it's just like random and nobody likes it, but it's like I don't know, it's just like cool that they just like were always doing.
Yeah, probably just every day they were working on something, and it it's no loss if one of them doesn't turn out super great, because there's going to be another album that comes out like next week or something.
Yeah.
And that one might be a classic, and a lot of them kind of are, at least like underground music classics for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sort of the way I describe them is like I don't know, most artists are like more of like, they'll labor away in the studio and then give you an album, and there's sort of an album cycle, and they'll go back to the studio. Like with Coil, it's very much, it feels like they're like this weird alien kind of like machine thing, or that's like kind of leaving as well, or something that's like sitting in this room churning away, and you don't really know what's going inside of it, and then there will be like these like zaps of electricity, and like that's like a release. And it'll just kind of happen at random, and it'll just like, you don't know what it's going to be or where it's going to be. It'll just
kind of like Sun Ra.
Yeah, literally it is actually very...
Wonder if that'll come back later.
Sun Ra was here in his element. He invited me back for a ride.
I feel like their name is very descriptive of this sort of like they always have this thing of being, you think like a coiled snake or like a coiled spring, or like it's just like it's like kind of tension, and like you feel that there's like serious power in there, and you don't know how much of it there it's like always kind of threatening to come out, but like it keeps the tension like contained.
Yeah.
And sort of like go in is just like in this sort of finite little volume. I don't know, it's kind of my abstract description of what it, but I don't know.
That's
I feel
cool.
Like their name's very fitting in that way. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Why? Oh yeah. Why did we pick this one though?
Yeah, I think. Why did we pick like this particular? I don't know. I mean, this is a good one.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. I mean, it's like we didn't want to pick like the we didn't want to do like Ape of Naples or Horse Motivator, which are like the obvious ones.
Yeah, I guess it's just this this podcast so far. We're trying to talk about albums where at least that there's something for us to say about it that hasn't yet been said by everybody, or that isn't just obvious by listening to it.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily going to be like only albums like you've never heard of or something.
Yeah.
And if anybody finds this podcast, it's probably going to be because they're looking for the albums we're talking about. So it's actually pretty likely they will.
Yeah, nice thing with this one is that they'll find they'll be looking for the album on Spotify or whatever, and they won't find the album, but they will find our podcast.
That's the the real criteria so far. It's just albums that aren't on Spotify.
We gotta make sure to make it exactly the same length as the album, the podcast, so that they click on it thinking it's, you know.
That's gonna be an editing feat. Or we just like keep an eye on the clock for our recording and just keep it completely unedited, unfiltered. They hear all of it.
Yeah.
And it'll be worse for it, but we just might bait a few more people
Yeah.
into listening to that instead. Because more than anything, what this podcast is striving to be is a replacement for the albums we're talking about.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
We want you to
we listen to it so you don't have to. You know you've made it if the nostalgia critic notices you.
Yeah. Maybe he'll do a nostalgia critique of us.
Yeah. Oh, I would love it. Can you imagine if like we're the first thing that like really like breaks his format and he's not talking about movies anymore.
It's it's like, look at this shitty Spotify podcast or
with
whatever.
3 listeners. Like, God, it made me mad. What music do you think the nostalgia critic listens to?
The Wall. I don't know.
But he like hates it. Or does he?
It's like the thing, he just has this relationship with it where he can't get away. I mean, why else would he care so much?
Yeah, that's true.
You know? Like,
it's not like he hadn't heard it before.
Yeah, it's like this thing, I don't know, like...
He had to be pretty familiar with it.
Yeah, it's, I don't know, it's... You know, it's like, it's obviously like a cultural touchstone, but like, you don't hear, like, I don't hear songs from The Wall that much unless I like look for them, you know?
Yeah, it's only going to be a couple that are on like classic rock radio. You're gonna get your Comfortably Numb. And this isn't us talking about The Wall, by the way. That's going to it's gonna be a lot more than 100,000 for The Wall. By the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, you might get that. You might get Another Brick in the Wall part 2. That's the one.
That's the one. That's the one you want. Yeah. The I don't know. Yeah. It must. Like, I feel like it's very easy to avoid those, you know?
Yeah. It's like, this album really, like... I mean, is, like, any Pink Floyd really going to be, like, shoved down your throat in the same way that, like, other classic rock... Because it's just most of the songs are too long, so...
Like, it may be, like, fucking, like, Wish You Were Here, the song?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it's just... That's maybe the one I hear on the radio the most.
Probably.
Like, I don't know.
It's probably not even going to be anything on Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, like, most of their music
which
is
I'm not
really
saying anything about yet.
Yeah. Zip lips.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway.
We know our worth. But yeah, is there any more background information? Yeah, when you talk about, like, one of these, like, classic, I mean, not that this is one of their ultra classic ones. But like in this industrial scene, I feel like there's just a lot of groundwork that you gotta.
Yeah, no, it is. It's kind of it's a pretty insular kind of world. It's very and the history is kind of important to it.
Yeah.
There's a song on here which is like also a current '93 song, also a Nurse with Wound. So it's like
also just generally a standard.
And a standard. I don't know. Well,
it kind of had like a second life as an industrial standard.
Yeah, I guess an industrial standard.
I mean, is the
like the industrial bars?
If any song is an industrial standard.
No, it's true. Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I guess it existed before, and I don't know, but yeah, it's like. They all, I don't know, it's just like these people all know each other, or at least knew each other, and it's like, I don't know, so it's I don't know, it's just kind of like a world that, I don't know, I described as like sort of Coil's albums exist on a spectrum between like, you know, just like compiled experiments and like, you know, sort of conceptual piece. And this one falls more on the, like, just a few experiments put together kind of side, as opposed to, like, like The Ape of Naples was also from right around this time. Yeah, and also The Music to Play in the Darks. Both of those are more, like, you know, big, like, clearly conceptual kind of piece that has a big thing. This is more feels like, okay, here were like a few ideas they were working on that were put together, and I think it was
so basically a B-sides album is what you're trying to say, right?
Yeah. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, this is just the cutting room floor.
Yeah. But yeah, but like that's the thing too, you know, because it's like it's not like I don't know, because it's also like important in the same way as like
Yeah.
an overall. I mean, you know, like it is an album, but yeah, it's just like you know the tracks aren't just like mismatched or whatever. You know, like they're very clearly like made in the same, you know, sort of space and yeah.
Yeah, you're not gonna get any horse rotivator type of sounding songs on here.
Yeah. So
I guess we can actually talk about
we can talk about this stupid
the
thing.
music. We like it. I think we've established
yeah.
that we enjoy it. Before this, it's a little more than a week, maybe. You had already heard all of it, right?
Yes, I've been listening to this one for a hot minute.
Yeah, I had heard the first song. Okay, so for context, you want to tell the...
Sure. So we're there's this town which you may know of called Centralia, which is a basically it was this like old mining town, and then Pennsylvania. Basically, a fire broke out in the mines underneath it, which just like was constantly like getting more fuel.
Yeah, because it was a coal mine.
Yeah, because it was coal in the mine, so it just like was getting more and more fuel, and it wouldn't go out, and so the town just like had to be evacuated. And there's like a couple.
And it's still burning.
It's still burning. It's like moved some, but
yeah, it's going. It's like migrating.
Yeah, it's like
across the length of the mine, I suppose. But we went there. We took a road trip there, a little field trip.
Yeah, well, it was like we were driving. We just had like whatever the hell music on.
Yeah.
And then like right as we were getting into the town, we were like, you were like, hey, let's put on something spooky. So I put on the Gimp, the Gimp sometimes.
Yeah, the Gimp sometimes.
Yeah, which and if you haven't heard it, it is the first 5 or so minutes of it is this very, very spooky, dark ambient piece.
Yeah. This repetitive. Calling it a synth lead feels a little inaccurate, but
yeah,
maybe that's technically what it is with this like synth loop.
Yeah, it just sort of like it's like kind of winds around. It just does this like yeah, it's very creepy sounding.
Yeah, it really grabs your ear and your attention and doesn't let go of it, and yeah, it's just extremely unsettling on its own. So then driving into this literally completely abandoned town.
There are a couple people that live there.
Well, yeah, not completely, but like there were like probably 6 times the number of vehicles in the population. I think it's literally like there are 2 houses there that people live in.
That's like the craziest shit actually that was there. It was like there were like a couple houses that clearly people lived at, but each of them had like fucking 10 cars parked around them. Like it's just those people have like a million cars.
Yeah, a lot of trucks there. Yeah, knowing that like you're basically alone but not completely in this otherwise abandoned town that looks like a forest.
And it was super fucking foggy
that day. Extremely foggy.
So it was like you could see only like, 20, 30 feet in front of the cars.
Yeah.
So it was like there's very little, I don't know. It's just like a ghost town more than it is a fire town these days.
Yeah, you gotta go a little farther down the road.
Yeah, there's not even like buildings really anymore. Like most of them are destroyed. It's
just
these empty lots.
Yeah, you wouldn't have like. It's hard to even know it was a town except like the little bits of sidewalk you can see, and there's like a graveyard. And the graveyard,
a couple graveyards.
Yeah, a couple graveyards, which are some of the only things intact. So that was
nice and spooky.
Yeah, nice and spooky. So yeah, having the Gimp playing during that. Yeah, I don't know if you just like imagine that scene or. I mean, I'd highly recommend it if like somehow you have a foggy day.
If you're in the area.
You're in the area and you go into Centralia, PA. Just put this album on. Yeah. I remember like I mean that was one of the most memorable music experiences I think I've ever had. I was like I was really sad when we had to like get out of the car and couldn't listen to the album anymore. And I remember even thinking like, are there ways to like keep like playing it, but I was like, no, it'd just be like playing it off of our dumb phones.
Yeah.
Phone speakers.
We
So.
can get a boombox.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
Coil.
Imagine being one of the people in those houses and somebody, you see this group of college kids playing this weird ass music on a boombox. Just... So yeah, what I anyway when I listen to the GIMP, that's yeah, it's hard to imagine anything.
Yeah, I also am brought right back to that.
Yeah.
To that moment. Yeah. Yeah, the GIMP's a fun song. It has like it basically so it has that dark ambient part, and then the second half of the song he's going like you get the sort of bass line going like. But it's like characteristic Coil. So it's like so hard to describe. It's like this weird like really kind of wet synthesizer sound.
Mm-hmm.
It's very like I don't know. It's just like really kind of clean and has like so much character to it, and just sounds like this living creature. That's like how all their that's like how all their synth work is. It's like really
They're production gods.
Yeah, it's really amazing. Yeah, there's some John Balance classic like he's like he does this hurt myself, help myself thing.
Yeah. Did he also say hate myself?
Yeah, he I think that sounds right.
I hate myself.
Yeah, it definitely makes me feel something. I'm not sure what it is.
You feel the GIMP something. There's some that didn't work.
I loved it personally.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess we can describe. I mean, sort of the sonic palette on this album is very. I mean, it's very particular and consistent throughout it.
Yeah.
It's very like. So yeah. I mean, I described kind of how the synth work is. It's very. That's very like lots of like bass lines. Feels wrong to call it that.
Yeah, but it is kind of it's a synth. Like if you don't call it that, then what do you call it? Like a synth bass motif. Like it seems a little.
Yeah,
like it functions as a bass line,
Yeah, it feels like I don't know the way I describe it. Like these tracks, they're very repetitive. They're often like 10 minutes long or so.
Yeah.
And they sort of evolve, but they generally have some sort of like repeated kind of rhythmic idea at the core. The way I kind of think of them is it feels like this like ensemble of like these weird contorted like fucked up creatures just kind of like walking along all together, and so you have like the one guy kind of crawling along the ground with one arm, and you have the one guy with doing this weird walk that's kind of I don't know, it's like it's sort of just like
one of them has two heads or something.
They're all just like singing their weird little song and sort of walking along together. That's kind of how it feels.
And then every once in a while one of them dies and you don't hear from him for a little while.
I know.
But then he gets back up.
He like rises from the ground and he comes back.
Missing some limbs now.
Yeah, that's a good way. I think that's a good metaphor.
Yeah, they all kind of like shamble along, but in this very calculated way. Like nothing feels like it doesn't need to be there.
Another classic on the sort of reoccurring motif on this. Well, there's two big reoccurring ones which are pretty standard of this era of Coil. One is the marimba, doing these sort of repeated syncopated kind of rhythms, very kind of like sort of like Steve Reich style, very like minimalist kind of stuff. It's very there's a few tracks with it. I don't know what I'll highlight in Sex with Sun Ra Part 1. There's just like
Thought priceless, bloody priceless.
That goes like the whole like a lot of the track. They use that a lot. They even perhaps even more on Ape of Naples. Yeah, and the other one is John Balance's vocals, which are often spoken word, though and often kind of like sort of like half sung, you know, kind of like he has this very, it's not whispery like he's talking in like sort of a regular register, but it's very
Yeah, it's like crooner spoken word.
yeah, it's a good way to put it. Yeah, it's very I don't know. Yeah, you just kind of have to hear it, but it's
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't sound like Lou Reed or Bob Dylan or anything like at all. It really is a very unique vocal style he happened upon.
Yeah, maybe a bit of like later Scott Walker or something.
Yeah.
You could maybe compare it. I don't know.
A little bit.
Yeah, his lyrics are another thing. Along with
Oh,
the vocal style, it's very like super intriguing and super weird and
Really abstract.
yeah, it's like super abstract and also like full of color and imagery.
It's not just like abstract in the sense of cliches that could mean anything. It's like there are always enough details where you know it definitely means something.
Yeah.
And the way I think of it is that it's abstract not because it doesn't mean anything, but because that's like the only way to properly communicate the things that he means.
Yeah, you couldn't say it any other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I think the lyrics of Sex with Sun Ra
Yeah,
like one of the best examples of that, like in their whole discography really.
I was gonna say that's probably my favorite track on here.
Yeah.
Sex with Sun. Yeah, I guess they both have similar lyrics, but yeah, like part one.
Yeah, I would agree. It's probably my favorite.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's so cool. He talks about like it's like Sun Ra appeared in his element. And they like go on a ride.
Yeah,
whatever that means.
Yeah, like the obvious way to interpret that is that they're fucking because of the title, but you know that there's a lot more than. Like, it's not just like a meme song about like, Sun Ra. Yeah, it's like, I mean, for one, there's a reason it's Sun Ra and not like Miles Davis or something. Yeah. You know, because like I was kind of joking earlier.
Art Blakey.
Dude Kelly too. I was kind of like joking earlier when I said the Sun Ra is like Coil, but like they are very spiritual and I don't know, like esoteric, and like they feel kind of not of this world in a similar way.
Yeah, fans of one, I would say, are often fans of the other. Maybe not. I don't know. Fans of one certainly could be fans of the other very easily.
Yeah. So there's a reason it's the Sun Ra. I think it's interesting that Sun Ra was already dead by the time.
Yeah. Well, you know, stop them.
But it's not gonna stop me. But like there's a lot to unpack in these lyrics. Like a lot.
There's so much.
Like you can interpret it as like this is literally happening and Sun Ra just like didn't die.
Yeah.
Or it's like he's kind of coming back from the dead, or it's like his spirit or something.
Yeah. I think it was just like kind of like the essence of Sun Ra. Like he exists on this other plane and sort of, I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of how I look at it. Like he just like kind of is there. It's kind of like the platonic form of Sun Ra. It's, like, it's not like a particular age or anything.
Yeah, I don't know. It's sort of like the sex makes me think of like, I don't know, like exchange of creativity and just sort of like, you know, the sort of spirit of, Yeah,
it's definitely not just, I don't know, they're horny or something.
Yeah.
It's like, there's such a, like this song has such a like drama to it, I guess.
Yeah.
It has like this incredible atmosphere.
Yeah, oh my God.
It's like extremely strong, and it's almost like, feels like crossing over to another plane, because like most of the lyrics aren't really like directly like sexual or about that, it seems.
Another note, which is worth saying, I think we've neglected to say, which is important, is that they are They are gay.
Yes.
Yes, and that is a big.
They
That's
were
important.
openly
Yeah.
gay.
Yeah, and they were John Balance and Peter Christopherson. They were partners for a while.
Yeah.
And then they weren't for a while, but it was like
Yeah, they remained bandmates after they broke up.
Yeah, but yeah, and they sort of, I don't know, a big, I think a thing that was certainly important in their early discography was like the whole AIDS crisis in the 80s, and that's basically what Horse Rotivator is all about. And then I think that theme sticks around a lot as you go along, especially in Ape of Naples, I would say, which is kind of all about death. Yeah, I love this shit. So it's, Sun Ra was here in his element. He invited me back for a ride. I smiled, agreed, and we left for the place that is full of reasons for time and for space. He said he was leaving last tide.
Yeah, tide makes me think of like, I don't know how the tides are like connected to the moon.
I bet it's a moon thing, yeah.
Yeah.
It's got to be a moon thing.
Yeah, so yeah, something vaguely about that. Like a lot of this it's kind of just, it's more like associative than like directly meaning something.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like you can even see him, like you can feel like hear him generating the sort of lyrics on the fly based on loose ideas.
Yeah, and if you listen to their live material, then that becomes pretty clear.
Yeah, there's some stuff about, I don't know, part of another thing where it might be Sun Ra. It talks about there's a line later where he talks about the spaceship powered by natural sounds, and there's stuff like
A dream of color music.
Color music, that's fucking awesome. And the part of the song where it's doing this like
and the whole, like, as soon as he says like he said I dream of color music, it's like the whole thing just like shifts immediately.
Oh, that's so cool. And he talks about like the dream weapon later on.
Yeah.
Relaunched the dream weapon. I don't know. There's all these things that are sort of like that are like
we worshipped at the shrine of the thylacine.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. It could be like Sun Ra's whole like being from space kind of thing.
Yeah.
Kind of, I don't know.
But not just like an alien, but almost like a god or a prophet or something.
Yeah.
Like probably more of a prophet.
Yeah.
Like I get this feeling of like that they're going to cross over into like another like plane or mode of existence.
Yeah.
I see acid free.
I'm sure that's a drug thing.
Yeah. They did their fair share of drugs.
Yeah. They have an album under the Time Machine side project where it's just like a couple drone pieces, and they're supposed to be this like psychoacoustic thing where they simulate like the effect of being on various different drugs. It's like they were like really into drugs.
Yeah.
Especially psychedelics. So but also
there's a part. Yeah, I think it's at the end where he says,
and
all will be forgotten and all will be well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me feel like Sun Ra is kind of like beckoning him to, like, through having sex with him, it's almost like going to, like, after that, like, nothing is going to be the same. Like, you get this feeling that they're going to cross over and you can't go back.
Yeah.
Kind of, the line, all will be forgotten and all will be well. Like, I find that one so interesting because like you could, depending on like where you are in life, like that could be either like comforting or sinister.
Yeah,
because it's like all will be forgotten, like everything I know now.
Yeah,
and it's like it's almost like drinking the Kool-Aid or something. Like you're just going to completely be a different person now.
Yeah. Yeah. I really love the I will be alright if you kiss me, I'll be alright if you hold me. It's like a mantra throughout the track. It's just like it's so just like this weird journey they're on, and they're just like, as long as we're like clinging together and this
it's like this weird like a spiritual bonding more than anything, and it's like kind of like cosmic journey.
Yeah.
Like nothing's really going to get at like what the song is communicating, and that's kind of like why I reinforced my point earlier that like this is the way you communicate something like this, is through these kinds of lyrics and not through like more literal terms. But
another one's the he said he mentions military temples. On the the live album about the ambulance and the dying in his arms. There's there's a track about military temples. Like I guess that's one of their motifs around this time.
Yeah, there were some lyrical motifs that just kind of continue across a good chunk of their discography.
Yeah,
there are like certain lyrical wells that he just keeps like coming back to.
Yeah, another one's on this track is the he talks about when he sees the great black light. Which he says like lives in the heart of animals or something like that.
Yeah, that was.
But yeah, they have a side they have like a side project, Black Light District.
Yeah.
Which is like that's like one of their things, the black light.
When I see the great black light.
Yeah, another on this album, at least on the well, or no, I guess on both albums. Yeah, they have a one of the many versions of the song Teenage Lightning, which pops up all over Coil's discography.
Yeah.
There's one on there's two on Love Secret Domain. I think then there's the Ape of Naples, which is I think probably the best one. And then there's the another thing they keep coming back to, and that one's one where there's like there's a couple of the standard elements of the song that just like change a lot, and it's fun to hear it like warp throughout their discography.
Yeah. This is already 10 years old, apparently, when this was released.
The 10th birthday version? Yeah, so you think it's like the 10th birthday of Teenage Lightning?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. But Love Secret Domain is earlier than that, but maybe this was recorded earlier.
Yeah.
I don't know. I assumed it was that, but yeah, I guess there's really no way for me to know that's what they're referring to, given the way they are.
Yeah, it's very like they just could be just like, this one's about a 10th birthday.
Yeah. It's like the soundtrack to the idea of a 10th birthday.
Essence of a 10th birthday.
Oh yeah, another one of my favorite lines. I guess one of the last things I'll say about Sex with Sunrise.
Oh yeah, back to that one.
Yeah. When I find you, I will remind you. Most accidents occur at home.
Oh God, yeah.
That is so like haunting and like bone chilling.
Yeah, especially when you consider how John Balance died.
Yeah.
Which is like he was an alcoholic and he was like drunk and fell off a balcony at his home.
Yeah.
That's like one of those they have lines here and there in their discography like that are just kind of bone chilling like that.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like what did he mean at the time? Like obviously he couldn't have like really known that was going to happen, but
yeah.
Like it's hard to think of it meaning anything else.
Yeah. So it's
like with that context.
Yeah, it's such like this thing where it just like works its way under your skin. It's just like, like you think you're safe there. Like, it's like there's no it
feels very sinister. Yeah, and then he says occur at home and then or in Harry Smith's room in the Chelsea Hotel.
Yeah. That was like so weird. Yeah, that was like the I had to Google that. That was like a guy from the New York beat movement who like lived inside a hotel room for a while, or in like a series of hotel rooms or something like that, and was like just like did weird art shit and like experimented with psychedelics. Yeah, so Coil's kind of person, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. There's no sound on this album that to me sounds dated.
Yeah.
Nothing sounds like of its time exactly.
It's
still all like futuristic.
This era of Coil always feels to me kind of like the like sort of the spiritual continuation of like the Berlin School progressive electronic stuff. I feel like I don't know. I feel like I heard that comparison other way, but I feel like I don't hear that comparison. Like it feels very obvious to me. Yeah, like that's just like I don't know. It's very like
the way the songs progress really sounds like Tangerine Dream, early Kraftwerk.
Yeah, like Klaus Schulze, any of those like it's super these sort of long form the way they evolve in this particular way, and then the very like kind of surgical and like really precise attention to detail and all the sound design. There's a version of All the Pretty Little Horses here.
Yeah,
which is like traditional, but it's a couple of these industrial people went and got together and I guess decided to make their own versions of it. So there's a whole Kurt 93 album based on that. There's a Nurse
Yeah.
Wound album, and then Coil has this song. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, what do you think the fascination was with this song in that group? I wonder.
I don't know. I feel like it had to be David Tibet.
Yeah.
Like, maybe not, but it feels like so him. I don't know.
It
does. Like,
yeah, it feels like David Tibet would be the one to like introduce this, and then yeah, I guess it just like struck a chord with the rest of them.
yeah. Or they like agreed to it. I don't know.
Yeah,
They, like, did they have a meeting of the society, the annual like
the industrial board meeting.
Yeah. Like on the Current 93 album, it has like John Balance all over it doing stuff. So
Yeah.
it's like clearly there's cross pollination.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it really
Yeah.
is. Like, you can go into the personnel on any of the credited personnel on any of these albums and find so many more discographies of this
Yeah.
kind of thing. Because they all collaborate. Like, it was a scene
Yeah.
as much as a genre, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, this version is really haunting.
Yeah. It's got like the standard, there's like this. There's like a standard melody to it that they play on the fucking marimba.
Of course.
And then it's got like some of that weird surgical noise stuff at the end. It's very Coil. It's great.
Yeah. So what's your favorite version of All the Pretty Little Horses? So Current 93 has two different versions.
They do have two different versions. It might be the Nick Cave one.
Yeah.
From that. Yeah.
It's fair enough. Nick Cave is...
Running round her eyes, but yeah.
Blush and bass.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I love the different takes on it. I don't know. It's very fun. Yeah.
Yeah, which version of Teenage Lightning is the best? Did you say you think the
Ape of Naples, I would say. I fucking love that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do like, there's like that Teenage Lightning's the one that has that, it's like this weird synth patch that like has, it sounds like it's a guitar.
Yeah.
Like, it's really hard to like, I'm pretty sure it's not a guitar, but it sounds so much like a guitar, you don't even like think it's not a guitar for the most part.
Yeah, that one, yeah, it like registers as a guitar and you really have to listen to it to realize it's not, which is so rare.
Yeah, it's really, oh man, it's really great.
Yeah. Did you know the title track is a cover, apparently?
Well, what's it a cover of?
I think it's on this Wikipedia article. It says that it's a cover of like Acid House track "Where's Your Child?"
Oh yeah,
by Bam Bam.
Bam Bam.
I guess if we go into the rest of the tracks more specifically, it's going to be kind of like this is the cool part, which we can do a little bit of, but
yeah, there's a moment, I don't know, it's hard to describe it. There's this moment where there's these weird it sounds almost like, okay, it's gonna be a stupid ass way to describe this, but there's this sound in the title track. You know, like the THX sound?
yeah.
It sounds like that, like put through like a blender kind of. But like it only like, you know, it's like kind of choppy and distorted, but like, you know, it's like it has this general kind of thrust to it. I don't know.
I think that's an extremely accurate
Yeah.
description, actually. It's like in the exact same register as the THX. It might be like the same like notes. And then Black Antlers is where the original track listing ends. And the rest of the album on the second edition is interesting because it's all like interpolations and like continuations of previous ideas.
Yeah.
I don't want to call them remixes because it's kind of like making a completely different song out of the main elements.
Yeah. It's really like the Coil sort of thing where it's always like they just have like these set of ideas that's growing that's like sort of slowly growing, but then also like all of them are constantly being reworked.
Yeah, like a song being released for Coil didn't mean that it was like done.
Yeah.
It's always like fair game to go back to it and like use it again and sample themselves or just do a different version. I mean, Teenage Lightning is everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, the palette on the Sex with Sun Ra Part 2 is really cool sonically. Like it has that weird, I don't know, these synths that sound kind of like strings or something. It's so much, there's a weird like tension that's like so palpable.
Yeah, and the rhythms are really glitchy.
Yeah.
It's just a very glitchy sound palette on that one in particular. It kind of, if you put part one into like a trash compactor or something,
Yeah.
and it's like a machine that's like still continuing on as it's like sparking or something.
Yeah.
But I love the groove on this one.
Yeah.
Sex with Sun Ra really does feel like one of the crowning moments of this album, so I think it totally makes sense to like kind of go back to it. And the first couple times I listened to this album, like when part 2 comes on, I'm like, oh yeah, this is like part 2 of this song. Like it sounds so different.
Yeah. Yeah, is my ear right? And Things We Never Had is a reworking of like the instrumental of Sex with Sun Ra Part 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
Yeah, it
that.
definitely
That was
is.
pretty-
And then it has little vocal bits that are taken from the song Broccoli
Yeah.
off of
Yeah,
Music
like,
Play in the Dark.
Yeah, it has the Departed thing, wise words from the Departed.
Yeah, although I think it usually cuts off before it says Departed.
Yeah.
It says like,
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it is, yeah.
yeah. Well, that's on Things We Never Had. That's not on Departed, I think,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, Things We Never Had is also Things We Never Had is also from Broccoli. Like both of those
Yeah.
were part of the lyrics of Broccoli.
Yeah. Broccoli fucks.
It does. It's definitely a contender for my favorite Coil song.
Yeah, that one's so yeah.
Yeah, and Departed is a continuation of Black Antlers.
Yeah. Yeah, there's this one thing in Things We Never Had, there's this there's this pad in it that's like that reminds me. I don't think it is, but it reminds me of that sample from UFO by ESG.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that.
I think we skipped over I mean not necessarily skipped. I don't know. The
Raisin Strays.
Rays and Strays of Paris.
Yeah, I love that track.
a great one. That's the one that kind of like gets all it like speeds up at the end, has this like
yeah.
drum beat going. It's all like
Yeah, it's like the most rhythmic one, maybe.
yeah.
Besides Black Antlers, maybe. The bass on Black Antlers. Oh my god. Like
Yeah.
The bass and kick thing, like that groove on Black Antlers is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love the John Balance like ad libs at the end of this one. You know, it's like yeah.
Yeah.
He's like doing these like yeah. Sometimes that's the thing I love in his vocal. Like sometimes he'll make like a sound that you is just like so like unhinged.
Yeah. Yeah, and then they're not afraid to just like pitch it up and fuck with it.
Yeah.
I guess within the context of their discography, a bit of an underrated.
Yeah.
I'll say it with my chest.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's like it's a really I think it's like a well respected one, but it's sort of like it's not one that I don't know, it's sort of a deep cut. It's sort of like
It's right next to Ape of Naples,
yeah.
and you know that Ape of Naples has like more I guess story to it.
Yeah.
Backstory to it, so that's going to be the one that people gravitate towards, and also like the shorter song structures. It's just like
Yeah.
yeah, it's a bit easier to digest, and I don't know, it's like also a masterpiece. But
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's just I think a lot of people will maybe listen to that and then they're like, I wonder what else they have, and then they go to, if they want more of that, they go to Music to Play in the Dark, and then
Which sucks.
which is garbage. And
no, I don't mean that.
I think they know we don't mean that.
Yeah.
Yeah, both parts are. You should listen to both parts and
Yeah.
most Coil stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's either they want that or they're like, oh, there used to be like more like industrial, and then they go to Horse Rotivator,
Yeah.
or Love Secret Domain because that's on streaming.
Yeah, that is on streaming now.
Yeah, that's another thing. This isn't on streaming, so that's
Yeah.
gonna be a big part of why people aren't gonna.
Yeah.
That's the deciding factor more than anything, honestly.
Yeah.
Maybe someday.
Yeah.
Until then, you get to listen to us ramble about it
Yeah.
on here. No other way to find it. But yeah, if it's not clear, I think we recommend it pretty highly.
I would say so.
Yeah, it's definitely deserves to be mentioned as. Well, okay, you listen to more of their stuff. Would you say it deserves to be mentioned as like one of their best works?
I would say so. Yeah, I think it's like it's not as like it's not quite as much of like a clean like this is like a self-contained album that's like, you know, gonna knock your socks off. It's more of like here's like a sort of catalog of like some really interesting ideas they were playing with at this point. And I think it's really like deserves commendation for that.
Yeah.
Then of course like Sex with Sun Ra is like one of their best fucking songs. It's like it's really amazing. Yeah. It's really, really cool. Very like, especially, you know, certainly if you're into the like Ape of Naples music, play in the dark kind of stuff. Yeah. I think this is a good album.
Yeah. I think I would agree.
Yeah.
Listen to it.
Yeah.
Wherever you find it.
Yeah.
I guess one day it'll probably
be
on streaming and they'll misspell the song titles.
Yeah.
Because nobody cares.
Nobody cares about Coil.
Yeah, listen to Black Antlers.
Yeah, it's a good album. It's by Coil.
Mm-hmm.
It's a post-industrial record.
Yep.
It is a hoot and a holler.
Yeah. You're gonna like it. I promise.
Yeah. That's our that's our guarantee.
Subscribe to our Patreon.
Yeah.
Bye.
Fuckers. I'll see you around.
Me too, I guess.